Hi guys, I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial on how to best export georeferenced GeoTIFFs out of Abadata so that they're straight compatible with the mapping software for the phase ones. So the first thing I do is just go into Abadata, and what I'll do is I'll use the last project that we worked on together as an example. Let's move this over here. And so for that particular one, it's section 16, township 52, range 10, west 5. Okay, as you can see, we've got the well site there. So what I've also got to open here is the project for that particular site. So what I'll do is I'll turn on our imagery from the mapping software, and you can basically get a sense of what's in the area. See this sort of bendy road there. And so the first thing I typically do is turn on the air photo. Get a sense if we're in the right area. And as you can see, we're all matched up. Okay, so the next thing I do is turn off the layers that we don't need. And for right now, we don't need the terrain. We don't need anything except the wells on. Okay, so the things you need to consider when exporting from from Abadata, any sort of georeferenced TIFF image, is that the scale to which you export affects the resolution. It also affects the amount or the area shown. So if you want higher resolution, typically what you need to do is export a smaller area at a smaller scale to get the higher resolution. So in this case, for phase ones, what we're going to be doing is likely mapping at 1 to 5,000, which is a slightly larger area than what you would typically use for a typical well site phase two or whatnot. So what you need to do is find a balance between the scale and the amount of area that's shown to make sure enough area is shown. So if you let, for example, if you export at 1 to 500, very small scale, you're going to probably export a very small area and not have enough area to cover what's needed. So you might end up just getting an area that's only this big. And so typically, for mapping purposes, we want to keep it nice and neat and tidy and make sure that we've got enough imagery to cover the entire mapped area. Okay, so as you can see that we've got part of this major river system up to the top. And so what I do is basically zoom in and out to cover the area. Now you're not going to be able to see my map to see this, but what you can do is you can actually go to this site in Google Earth and do basically the same thing. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we'll zoom in. Okay, so that's way too zoomed in. You can't see enough area. Now this area here, well, we could, I find the zooming on Abadata to be kind of funky. But anyway, so what you want to do is center the well site in the window, the map window. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the imagery that's that's of interest. So we'll go to the satellite imagery, and let's say we want 2015. We do a quick assessment. Okay, it looks of reasonable resolution. We do have a little bit of cloud cover, so we make the determination of whether this is a reasonable image for the purposes that we need. We determine that it is. So now what we do is we want to make sure that all layers are off aside from the satellite image. So we'll turn the wells off. Make sure we don't move this. Okay. And we'll use this button here. It's called Export Map Image. Click that. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll name the file 2015 to match the year. We're going to change the format to GeoTIFF. Scale bar units don't matter. And in this case, what I find a good export scale at 1 to 5,000, which is the sort of the final scale that we're going to be mapping at, 1 to 2,500 seems to work well. It's a good balance between resolution and the amount, basically the amount of land that we're showing. So let's go ahead and try that. So we'll just hit the export button. And it creates the 2015 here, and then it just gives you sort of a status update, creating high resolution TIFF. Okay, so then what I'll do is I'll click the open button, and it saves it in your downloads folder. Okay, so we can close that. So on my other screen, you don't need to necessarily see this, but I'm just cutting and moving that to the project folder. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll minimize, or actually I'll just open up the map here. So we'll turn this imagery off, which is coming from Esri, from our mapping software. And then what we'll do is we will add data, and I've copied it to the project folder in test data. So actually one thing I forgot to do, I'll do it right now, is once you've moved it, so the standard export file name is called mapexport.tiff. So what you want to do is you want to rename that. So actually what I'll do is I'll bring this over. So what you want to do is every time you do an export, first thing you do is call it based on where it came from, and then add the year. So that way when you send me the files, it's really clear as to what they are. And if you want to get really fancy, put 11-16 in the name as well. So that way it's nice and clear. Saves time on your end, saves time on my end. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and add that image to our map. And so the first thing you can see is that it covers the entire mapped area. So if we were to zoom to this layer, you can see that it's grabbed just a little bit bigger than what we actually need. So actually 1 to 2500 export scale is actually perfect for mapping at 1 to 5000. So we'll just go back. So so anyway, the map is at 1 to 5000. And next thing we want to do is sort of assess whether the resolution is good enough. Okay, so you can see that there's a couple structures there for the well site, and yeah, you can see sort of a clearing here. So the next thing I do is basically open up Abadata again, and I zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, the resolution increases the further I zoom in. Okay, so this zoomed in is basically as good as it gets. So this is the best resolution that's available for this particular image because it's satellite imagery at 2015. So typically the resolution is 1 to 5 meters, which is not particularly great. So what you want to do is you want to assess just quickly whether or not the features that you can see zoomed in Abadata match that of the export image. So you can just open it up in whatever image format or image software that you have and just take a look. So you can see these two images fairly clearly on the export that matches the original. There's not a whole lot of resolution loss compared to the export image and what's available in Abadata. So what you've done is you've kind of got the best of both worlds. You've captured enough area, but not too much, and you've captured enough resolution to essentially identify any of the features that you need for that phase 1 purposes. So that's basically it. Just if you keep track of your file names really well, then it makes life a lot easier on my end. And if you have any problems or need any additional assistance, I'm always here to help. Thanks, guys.